Good. Very good.
Okay, we are live. Right. Now I can close the browser. All right, well, welcome. And why don't we go on and get started? I will say I am Logan Michelle Odom, located in Brooklyn, New York. With my entrance fee, The Coming Plague, Newly Emerging Diseases in a World Out of Balance by Laurie Garrett. And so happy to be here and so happy to be winding down this chapter. And Venita?
Good evening. My name is Venita Walker, and I'm joining you from Cromwell. Here's my ticket in.
All right. And Rick.
Hi, I'm Rick from Queens, New York.
Okay. So we are here and ready. So let's see. I just wanted to remind everyone that next week, which is our final week, working on chapter 17, searching for solutions, as well as the afterword. And it's our close of this book. And next week we meet on Thursday instead of our usual Wednesday. And tonight we are focused on chapter 16. I'm going to go ahead and read the, share my screen, read the, let's see, what do you call it? Summary.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Oh, you can go on, hon. We'll read the summary first. I'll check you later.
Okay. Chapter 16. In chapter 16, Nature and Homo sapiens, field plague, cholera, global warming, biodiversity, and the microbial soup, author Laurie Garrett covers a lot of ground. The chapter reflects upon the ways in which population growth, environmental degradation through practices such as deforestation, and human consumption patterns of products like drugs, meat, and coffee are among factors putting microbes in the winner's seat. As species lose their natural habitats, new plagues emerge. And as biodiversity is reduced, oxygen production declines. Scientists work to catalog species before they disappear, and all life is threatened. Old and new microbes like measles, cholera, and herpes emerge to plague animals like fish, seals, whales, and monkeys, and to take up residence in air conditioning, airplanes, sick buildings, prisons, and dorms. Medical experiments and new technologies provide yet another avenue for microbes to reach places previously unexplored, such as organ transplants from other species to humans. Other environmental and social behaviors, like wars, also provide perfect conditions for microbes to thrive, as lack of economic incentive promotes practices that threaten all life forms on planet Earth, except seemingly the winning microbes. So that was that. What do you want to say, Venita?
No, hon, go ahead. I'll talk to you later. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. Yes.
I gave us some couple of questions to focus on. Rick, would you get us started with question 4, please?
Sure. Of the same 5,000, sorry, of the same 5,000 species of viruses known to exist in the world, we've characterized less than 4% of them, Caldwell said. We've only recently characterized 2,000 bacterial species, most of them terrestrial. That's about 2,000 of an estimated 300,000 to 1 million thought to exist. Less than 1% of all ocean bacteria have been characterized. And COVID-19. What the Chinese are doing with the Sinovac is essentially treating it as if it's an unlocked vaccine, delivering it at scale to countries around the world. This should not be seen as a political issue. Why should a Swiss company or a US-based company be making billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars on the pandemic? You know, we used to talk about something, Amy, called war profiteering. During a war, when companies made money producing armaments and so on. There should be no pandemic profiteering. Pandemic profiteering should be an immoral thing. Companies should not be making money during this pandemic. There should be no politics in this. There should be no profit in this. This should be treated as a human tragedy, which has to be dealt with in a collaborative way by human beings. Vishai Prasad, Director, Tricontinental Institute for Social Research. Questions?
Question?
Oh, there you go. Yeah. What do you think about the Chinese sending free samples of their COVID-19 vaccine to developing nations? What are the pros and cons of pandemic profiteering? With all the unknown bacteria and viruses living on this planet, do you imagine humans will ever win the war against microbes? Or is there a more positive way of viewing a relationship with these life forms? Let's find travel into deep space. What do you imagine will happen when human beings encounter new life forms on other planets? What lessons might we learn from our own experience on planet Earth that could help us in encounters with extraterrestrials?
Thank you. Okay, so that's me just kind of combining disconnected things. But when I think about all of the many species on the planet, you know, and then I think about how we've approached dealing with this pandemic of a new virus. It just makes me want to scream. So any reactions there?
I don't think the Chinese are sending anything for free.
That's first
No.
thing.
It's imperialism. You give free stuff to poor nations. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm European. We wrote the textbook for that. Then you come back 10 years later and you ask for everything. And if you don't comply, we break you. The Chinese are doing the same thing in Africa. The only country I trust is sincere sharing free vaccines is Cuba. The only one, because they have no interest. They'll never be a major power. You know what I mean? But they have a small population. They have enough vaccines and know-how to export that to countries that are friendly to them politically. And in that case, it's a stupid thing that the Americans can't get access to the Cuban vaccine because of politics. There, I agree. But the Chinese vaccine, first of all, is not a miracle. There's a lot of questions about it. And the profiteering, I mean, I understand the point, but to say about the Second World War, weapons were made without profiteering because the country was at stake, which you could argue with COVID is another problem, is that you can't say don't profiteer of medicines and vaccines if you don't say don't profiteer of food. Don't profiteer of exploitation of people through phones, through servers. The problem is that this whole model that we have, pharmaceutical companies are just doing what every other company is doing right now, from Apple to everybody else, and there's no regulation. The great deregulation from the 80s has impacted every aspect of life, from schools to prisons to, and now healthcare. And we see every country that went from a truly public health model like France, Italy, and that went a little bit private, look what happened to them with COVID. So what I'm saying is, you know, in the end, everything that's happening right now with vaccines and pharmaceutical companies, and we have to be mindful of one thing. The whole system is flawed because Public health is not just medicine, it's also food, how you produce food, how you treat farmers. As a matter of fact, many farmers commit suicide because they're stuck in crazy contracts with major producers like Purdue, chicken and stuff. They can't escape it. Even if they know that what they're doing to their chicken is wrong, they know it as farmers. They know that it's not going to be good chicken. It's going to be sick chicken. They have to do it. Otherwise, they get a lawsuit and lose everything, and they get the farm from their family they try to save with this contract seized by the company. Nobody, and that leads to bad food. That leads to mass production. Good meat doesn't exist anymore.
Nope.
Because like 90% is produced that way, and farmers don't have a choice if they want to survive. The whole system is flawed. And to your point about, life forms would mean on other planets, first of all, what type of life forms? If it's conscious and it wasn't able to travel to us first, it should be scared if we got there first. Now, if they come here first, we should be scared. I think it's unfortunately a form of, conscious life behaves a lot like viruses. If we're stronger than another virus in an environment, we'll take over the organism. And so I'm not very, I'm very pessimistic about encountering other life forms and what it means. I don't think, becoming more powerful in the universe means you become wiser. I don't think so. I don't think it's related. Otherwise, people who without education couldn't be wise. And I know a lot of people who lack so-called education who are very wise. There's a big difference.
Yeah, apparently Gene Roddenberry's messages, Star Trek did not get through to us. But I always loved Star Trek, and the just the idea that there are all these other life forms out there, and that you can't just go around killing everybody because you want to. You have to find a way to live with people and beings that are different from you. And this was to me a very garbled chapter. Venita and I were talking about it earlier. It was kind of like what'd you say, Venita? Laurie Garrett is like one of those toddlers.
Yes, like the toddlers, Rick, when they're tired, they don't know they're tired. They just know that something is happening to their bodies, and they just don't know what to talk about, where to go, what to do. And this chapter, Laura started to look like she was a very tired toddler that just didn't know what to talk about and how much to
If you're a
talk
little
about it.
sugar, she'll be just fine. She'll small Coke, small Coke, she'll be fine.
But I think the essential message she was trying to get out in this chapter is that, all living beings are connected. We're connected in ways that we cannot see. And when you change one thing, inevitably it's gonna have an impact on the other thing. Maybe not immediately, but down the line. And so humans, have done more than anybody on the planet to change the natural order of things. And more than I'm usually fairly optimistic, but after reading this chapter, maybe the whole book, and just thinking about the enormity of the challenges we have in the natural environment, combined with the social, economic, political challenges and we can't seem to solve a single problem. I'm feeling a little bit down. Really, I'm feeling not hopeful today. So I hope somebody else has the right light they can share with me.
Well, there's a good thing about this whole situation. There's this philosopher Whitehead, like he was a nightmare to edit. His book Process and Reality took 300 translators in France. It's a nightmare because he was writing in images, you like to say, which is not like some sentences weren't even finished when they got the first version. He died. So people were like, so
Wow.
it's the kind of book you have, you know, one paragraph like that, and the rest of the page are footnotes. We try to translate or we try to understand what he said there, but we think it meant that. We put it in brackets, whatever.
Yeah.
But he had this idea that ideas lead to adventures. And by adventures, he meant it could be tragedies, but it's still an adventure that we're not looking for killing or destroy or creating. We are through what humans crave is the adventure, is the path. And that means things to overcome, things to be able to actually, because the whole idea is you look for utopia. That's his idea, that, you know, the ideal, but the ideal will never has to interact with other things that try to be their own ideal. So in other words, it's as simple as the computers trying to be the perfect computer, but it's not, because there's thousands of computers. Same thing for the table, and they all have to interact together. You know, in a perfect world, they don't have to. But so the whole idea is that the question is, out of tragedies usually needs to come forth revolutionary ideas that rejuvenate the world. And in Europe, there was a point where everybody knows it happened, not because it's a whole European centric thing. It happened in other regions of the world, but in Europe specifically, the Renaissance is a moment because there are wars everywhere, horrible religious wars, idiots fighting each other over how you do the cross sign. And if there's a Father and Son and Holy Spirit, oh, you said it the wrong way, we'll kill you. Crazy stuff. And out of this fray of horrible things and people, horrible civilizations starting colonizing the world, slaughtering people, who comes up? Michelangelo, Descartes, all these individuals who were threatened, by the way, by the system. Galileo nearly got killed, Bruno got burned to the stake, and so on. These guys were not accepted. But nobody could deny that their book was working, that what Descartes offered as physics, still erroneous 90%, but better than Aristotle's. They couldn't ignore it. Kings who wanted to, you know, shoot cannons. Same thing for Newton and so on. It happened because, and these guys led to a lot of comfort, modern comfort. It happened because the world was horrible in Europe at that point. The Middle Age was okay. People always tell the Middle Age was horrible. It was actually okay compared to the Renaissance, where it's seriously disgusting. We all look at beautiful monuments. I'm European. I know the Renaissance is the moment we started having tooth cavities. In Europe, in the Middle Age, they found two. People stop losing the habit of reading. In villages, we have traces of people reading or learning by heart songs and poems, which they don't do afterwards. It was a dumbing down of civilization. And because of the dumbing down, you have some geniuses coming out and saying, we have to do something, but we can't do it up front because people will kill us. So how do we code things? And these incredible books, these incredible paintings were all coded so that people who would think a little bit would be like, wait, why is Adam so hot? You know, Michelangelo was notoriously gay, and he yelled at the Pope in front of everybody. He was like, you don't know my art, you're an idiot. The guy was insane. But what's incredible is that I trust, after this is all over, the young generation everybody's worried about, and they're very depressed. It's going to be traumatizing, but trauma that will make them an incredible generation, because trust me, now they know adults are full of shit.
Yes, right.
They know that everything we say is bull, that we believe crazy stuff, QAnon or cancel culture, we're all insane. And they will want sobriety intellectually, in the sense that they'll try to think more, and they'll be like, wait, we can't trust these guys. Like, and they are,
Well,
you know.
that is a message of hope, Rick. Thank you.
Yeah, but I think, you know, kids are going to make an incredible impression in the next generation is going to be incredible. But the problem
Well,
is, what do
there's
we do
certainly
with
enough
everybody else?
challenges. Yeah, there are enough challenges that keep them good and busy.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll
Anita,
go in the stars.
did you have any thoughts about that question?
I feel the same way you do. It's not being pessimistic, it's being real. It's like anything else. I mean, you can't look to the oppressors to make it better for you. So the generation before were the oppressors to the earth. And so the
Please.
earth
Yeah.
is not going to look to us to fix it. What the earth is going to do is start rebelling, AKA viruses, illnesses, all kinds of other things that are going on with our health.
Giant bears.
Giant bears
mutant
across,
bears with
across
claws.
the street, waving at cars passing by, which was incredible to me. I've been here, I've been crying for 32 years, and the bear across the street talking about how you doing? People riding down the street.
Okay.
It's too much.
Like it's like a horror movie. We're coming.
Yes, it was incredibly crazy, but that's what's happening. It's just, for instance, I think I was talking to Michelle, and I was saying how much happier I was when the humans were inside. When everything was, when you went outside, there was no one on the road but you and one other car. Last spring, the trees bloomed, everything was so plush. I had not seen it that plush, really, in about 25 years, when the humans were all inside. Of course, we had coyotes and fox and bears walking around, talking about how you doing. But I pretty much could deal with them opposed to have all the humans come out again. You know what I'm saying? So to answer your question, the point is that no, the earth can't look to the oppressors to fix it. You can't ever look to an oppressor to fix your problems. What the earth is going to start doing, as it has been doing, is revolting. And that's why we're all sick. We're all suffering from malnutrition because we're not getting nutrition from our food. We may be walking around every day with our eyes open, but pretty much inside, we're dying a pretty quick death. It used to be slow about 15 years ago. Now it's pretty quick. And hopefully, again, the younger generation, because we don't have any sense, everybody had to have the bigger and the better and the more, build the big mansion, or as I was telling Michelle today,
biggest muscle, biggest breast, biggest,
right,
biggest everything.
The biggest house, the biggest this, destroying
So
all our waterways.
Do you think by the time we start to encounter alien beings, we will be able to take some of our learning? I mean, we've effed up, we've effed up this planet. We have a lot of this chapter is talking about the benefits of biodiversity. But I think you could apply the same concept to social diversity. But we don't seem to know how to appreciate diversity. And so in the natural science area, that has some real serious consequences. So do you think by the time we get to Pluto, maybe, we'll know how to interact with other life forms?
I think Pluto, I think Pluto is going to get to us again. Before they're coming here.
Well, we got to arm ourselves.
Right. So we have to worry
the cycle starts again.
Right. We have to worry about getting to Mars or Pluto or this place or that place. No, they are coming here. Just like everything else.
Right now.
No, really, just like everything else, we're not strong anymore as Earthlings. Other countries see us as not being strong as a country. I'm sure that my fellow Pluters are seeing.
You collaborator, you're already betraying your own species. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Sending a message to the enemy.
Yes, they're looking and saying, you know what? They're weak. I think we need to go on down there, okay, and straighten things out. No, Michelle, I think I'm tired. I think my blood sugar is low. Okay, but no, to tell the truth, I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I'm sure we got a couple here now. You know how I feel about that because I think I know I've encountered a couple. Okay, but
you saw the NASA releasing, well, not the NASA, but the guy from Blink 182, that punk band from the 2000s. He's now dating, I think, Kim Kardashian actually, but he's been instrumental in releasing the UFO files from the CIA. So they've been released, and he's been instrumental also in revealing that jet fighter pilots had threatened a strike in 2016, in the US because they needed a procedure because they were encountering these things a lot. Like a lot more than was ever admitted, and they admitted it, but it was the Trump era, so nobody noticed that the goddamn Pentagon admitted, yeah, there are things flying that have no exhaustion of air, that move in ways that technically all pilots are engineers, no maths, no physics. We can't, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Everybody sees them. We acknowledge, and they're on the radar sometimes. So, and also, you know, pilots, and I remember a pilot telling me once over the channel, a commercial pilot, he saw on broad daylight a huge silver-like dome floating over the water, hovering over the water at like 100, 200 feet high. Everybody saw it. Nobody talked because they don't want to ruin their career.
I saw one of those Pentagon people last summer. Last summer, he came out and was saying that they are just about ready to start sharing with the general public.
Oh, they did it. It's out there. Haven't you read them? It's crazy. It's insane. There's incredible. There's a file that their videos are incredible. Like the pilots you see on the radar, like stuff. What is this? Like in space, I think it's the International Space Station that has a 24-hour camera. We see a triangle come out of like absolute void, but not at high speed. Like it appears, it goes on Earth. You're like, so those are NASA videos and Pentagon videos. So they admitting it, and the problem is that I think they reach a point. That's why Trump got the Space Force, because that was Trump's way of saying, "I want to talk about it." You can't, Mr. President. You really can't. Can I do a Space Force? Yes, okay. Like, oh, don't talk. And I'm sure that it's not that they know more than they want to admit. I think when the government hides something is that they can't control it. And they're scared that somebody might take control over it in the public.
They're not hiding it, Rick. They're not hiding it. I saw them at Stop and Shop, Rick.
Oh, never know. But I'm not even sure that, here's the thing, is that if really they just approach Earth without really interacting with it, it means that they do exactly what we do in the wild with lions and antelopes. They're sending drones to just look, hey, probably when we're actually on the show, look, at the point of the Bronze Age, species usually go through there. The Earthlings, they show us live Egypt, and for them it's nothing. Like they see Egypt and they see everybody dying. It's normal. They will destroy their planet and fly to other stars like we did a million years ago.
I think we underestimate them. I think we underestimate them, Rick. I think that they've already come, and they appear to be in human form, and they've already been mingling among us to just study how we move. Like it doesn't take much because we're idiots, but still, they don't know that yet. So they're just mingling among us to see how we move.
Well, like I can tell you, I'm sure there are humans among them, in the sense that for you know, we have this vision of the world where what will become the future Americas, Europe, Africa, the Arabic world, the Muslim Arabic world, China, all of those were closed. They weren't interacting. There was this idea for centuries of 2 centuries of modern scientific history thought of that. In the 70s, they realized no, everybody was interacting all the time. Like before the Roman Empire is an example. The Roman Empire is just like the crystallization of all these influences. But after that, even the Middle Age, like Muslims were going to France to give an elephant to Carlo Magnus. Carlo Magnus would go to Spain, give them money. I mean, it was all the time interacting. And we discovered like a Virgin Mary from the 12th century in the middle of the Andes. Why? Because it was brought there through commerce, through the Byron Day. So what I'm saying is that I'm pretty sure that those were a minority of people doing that job, you know, going through all those roads and selling stuff. I'm sure there's a minority of us and minority of aliens that actually, you know, a Men in Black thing that would be, I don't know why I feel that it would be, it's feasible, you know, but I don't know.
I mean, I think it's arrogant to assume there is no other life. I mean, just think about how much life there is on this planet.
Well, you know,
that we still don't know about. You know,
In the 70s, was it not Bill Nye, but what was his name? Carl Sagan. He got fascinated by a guy who ended up being insane. You know, I don't know if you probably remember that. The Dolphin Sex Girl. So there was this experiment in the 60s from this brilliant scientist originally said, I want to translate, I want to breach the interspecies barrier of language and find a way to talk to dolphins. So he built a house where he hired a girl, and the girl would force the dolphin to get stuff only if he tried to say human words in English. And so he could replicate, like, you know, the rhythm, but never the vowels or stuff like that. And technically it was just he was trying to imitate the person but not understanding the word, whatever. And so it was a young dolphin and he had sexual needs, and they wrote a book, and she explained that she helped him with his sexual needs because, you know, to make him calmer. So it made a whole fuss. And the guy originally was invited by Carl Sagan and NASA because they were like, listen, if we encounter aliens, how are we going to know what they're saying? How do we communicate? If, like, for example, if they didn't.
Wait. How does she help him with his sexual needs?
That's my question.
Well, you know, it's a male. You masturbate. You know, there you go. Yeah, it was a whole fuss back then. The book, you can look it up on the internet. There's a variety, not variety, it's a New Yorker article about what happened to that girl, the whole experiment that went wild. The guy was on LSD at one point. He went crazy, but whatever. But originally, he was taken so seriously that I was invited by NASA to advise them on how, because he was trying to break interspecies barriers on Earth, could he teach them things about how they could do that with non-life forms, non-Earth life forms. So, but you know, everybody was on LSD back then, even cars again. But it led to cool stuff. But no, it's a real story. You can look it up. I think even U.S.
No, but that
New York Times has an article.
Good question. How will we communicate?
Well, one of the big problems is how they cannot even pronounce our words. Because think about it, we have voice. What if they can speak only doing words gargoyle to them that sounds like different words? How can they imitate our words and how can we imitate theirs?
But that's an assumption.
I'm really with
they have a different evolutionary path. That's why.
I believe
maybe they don't speak like us
at all. Likely to get here before we get there. And I think that they are going to be so much more intelligent.
I believe that,
you know, than humans. And so,
but intelligence doesn't mean morality.
You're watching a Star Trek, and you know, maybe they're going to have some kind of mind to mind.
But why is that assumed? Why isn't assumed that they might be so highly intelligent that they do know our language, that they won't be walking around gurgling?
I think it's
that's what I believe, because I believe I have met some before.
But I think it comes from
eyes,
Western,
the back of their heads. You know,
it comes from
but
Western
thing. I'm being honest with you, Rick. I'm really being serious.
Yeah, but I think it's a Western ideal. I think it's the Western idea of the colonists, which is if we come there first, then we must have better technology, which is true. The Spaniards had better technology than the Native Americans in terms of ships, not in terms of architecture or stuff like that, but ships they did. And at first, they thought they were gods, some of them. But most people were like, wait, no, how come gods are coming with ships? Gods don't need ships, you know, like, but the king was like, oh, but it's probably the prophecy. The problem is we make this assumption. They also made this assumption that if you came with stuff they never saw or they couldn't make, that meant they were probably godly. So we have to be careful with that, because intelligence does not mean morality or superiority. It means that you're able to inflict even more pain onto your enemies because you now know how to attack. Like the Spartans were very clever. The Romans too, they conquered. So I always say, you know, we have to be careful with this idea that aliens want our well-being. I think when you're too powerful and intelligent, honestly, if I were at their level, I would look at humanity as ants. It's no biggie if they die. And I don't mean that by I'm going to destroy the ant farm, but if an asteroid goes there, I'm not going to move. It's nature, I'll call it.
Yeah.
I think they don't care about us at all. Well, I mean, if they are visiting us, I think they're just tourists and they don't care. It's like, what do we need? You have nothing to offer to us. What? You got gold? Ooh, we make it
That
out of thin air now.
Well, if
yeah,
they're looking for another planet to live on, we screwed this one.
Like for
Pretty
them, it's
well.
really like, oh, this is so typical.
yeah,
Benita,
but
you still,
go ahead on. I was
no,
just
go
saying that
ahead.
I was just saying that we're so arrogant. Also, the assumption is that other beings have put value on things that man
Yeah,
has put value on. You know what I'm saying? Like a
don't
diamond,
care.
you know. I mean, and that is another assumption because we're so caught up in putting values on humans, on things, on animals. The assumption is that even other beings would do that.
Yep.
You know, the other beings are probably laughing and talking about, well, what are they doing? Like, why is that
They're
guy in there
irrational.
spending
Protect the
right? Why?
queen.
Yeah, what is that guy? What is that person doing? That thing in there, putting like this rock on this other person's hand. You know, like what does that mean? So the assumption is because we are so arrogant that they would put value on what we do, and I don't believe that they would. I believe that it's almost like watching a sideshow, just simply looking at us and wondering what the.
There was this there was this fun Ray Bradbury short story in the Martian Chronicles. I don't know if you ever read this one. It's a missionary, Catholic missionary going to Mars, and in the book on Mars you have living beings, natives and stuff. Of course, they get slaughtered by those humans who want to colonize. And then they hear about the native tribe near a mountain, so they go there, the missionaries, to try to convert them to Christianity. And they discover orbs, and orbs communicate with them through their mind and say, we are the whatever, we have lived there for many aeons. And they're like, so we're here to convert you because we're here to save you from sin. What is sin? So that he explains, and it's like, you have temptations. What is temptation? Well, you need something and you can't get it, so you commit something wrong. Oh, we have no needs. We are perfect eternal beings on this planet. We have lived for many eons. And so they go on and go on, and the priest realizes that, well, they can't be saved because they can't sin. So he's stuck like an idiot and realizes that religion is not universal because they can't sin. They just don't have bodies. They're orbs, pure.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
funny short
It's going to
story.
be a new world. Benita, you feel up to reading question 5? I can't hear you. You're muted.
I was over here choking. I didn't want you all to hear me. Okay.
Well, maybe you should let somebody know if you're choking.
No, it's that time of the evening. You know, the air gets heavy and your throat gets crazy with these
Yeah.
allergies. Why is this buffing? Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see a screen. It was buffing for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so number 5, whether supplying the high profitable heroin and cocaine markets, which in the Andes was responsible for the devastation of upward of 90% of the Colombian forest and only slightly less alarming percentage of the forests of Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia, the fast food beef consumption habits, or the coffee needs of the wealthy world. Entrepreneurs of the developing nations were responding to all too present economic incentives when they destroyed their natural ecologies. Without competing economic incentives for protecting the ecosphere, it seemed unrealistic to expect the local human beings would take meaningful steps to reverse or slow the pell-mell pace of deforestation on opioids. Am I going to continue? Okay.
Yeah.
Purdue Pharma, which helped revolutionize the prescription painkiller business with its drug OxyContin, is proposing a $10 billion plan to emerge from bankruptcy that calls for it to be transformed into a different kind of company, funneling profit into the fight against the nation's intractable opioid crisis. Those efforts, which would include a significant boost, more than $4 billion from members of the Sackler family who own the Connecticut-based pharmaceutical giant. I told you about their money in Connecticut. The plan, filed late Monday night in a U.S. bankruptcy court in White Plains, New York, after months of negotiations, marks the company's formal offer to settle more than 2,900 lawsuits from state and local governments, Native American tribes, hospitals, and other entities. Purdue has delivered a historic plan that can have a profoundly positive impact on public health by directing critically needed resources to communities and individuals nationwide who have been affected by the opioid crisis, Steve Miller, chairman of Purdue Board of Directors, said in a statement. Most of the parties in the case are on board with the plan, but Attorney General representing 23 states and the District of Columbia issued a statement saying the offer falls short of the accountability that families and survivors deserve. They want more money from the Stickler family members and for Purdue to wind down in a way that does not excessively it with states, excuse me.
Oh, that's missing something.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know if it, because I'm missing something nice. So
yeah, no, let's just jump into the questions.
Question number one, whose job is it to protect Mother Earth? B, is it reasonable to hope or expect capitalists will solve environmental or social problems? And if not, what should humans do to promote sustainability of life on planet Earth? Are you optimistic about our capacity to protect life on Earth? C, do you trust Purdue Pharma to solve the opioid crisis? Why or why not? Well,
thank you. Yeah, that Purdue Pharma story just kind of was striking to me. Gall, the absolute gall. I don't know. I guess that's how it's done. But I'm telling you, we're gonna cling to this capitalism until.
The good thing about capitalism here in that case is that it's eating its own tail, because the states cannot say yes to $10 billion for the opioid crisis when it costs around $300 billion to the country in 10-15 years. So no way. You're not getting out of this crisis you created knowingly. Consultants told you, also McKinsey and Co., to do that. You knew what you were doing was wrong because you even sent an offer to some insurers of, hey, we know that 10 people out of 100 will OD per clinical data, so we'll discount the drug, like for 10 people who die, we'll give you back the money. They knew what they were doing. They knew all along from the very beginning. No. First of all, I don't like the fact that in America, these people can pay their way out. In Europe, they pay and they go to jail. They do both. We even go as far as removing all civil rights from them for life. It's called national indignity, and you can no longer have a bank account. It's horrible, but no, screw you.
Yeah, no, I saw that you guys sent one of your ex-presidents or prime ministers or something to
No,
prison
President.
recently.
It's the first time we got one. It's a national sport. Chirac, we didn't get him. He said, I'm crazy now. He wasn't. He was so good. We loved him because he was a cool liar. Here's the difference between Chirac and Sarkozy. Chirac lies was about his friends getting doing jobs at the city hall in Paris when he was mayor, when they were not working, and getting money. So it's bad. But Sarkozy's lies are fed the Libyans the war, fed a terrorist act in Pakistan on 18 French engineers in 1993 to finance the campaign for Balladur, his prime minister. In other words, he's a piece of whatever. And he was Trump before Trump, way before. Oh my God. He married a model while going to Disney World. We were astonished. It's not French at all. So yeah, no, he's going to jail for this time. What happened is that they were listening. They used the power of the state to listen into judges that were investigating his campaign finances. And they, so yeah, but yeah, people need to go to jail and pay when they're rich. Give your property and go to jail.
This question is really very much like the last one, and just the idea that really for the sake of profits, for the sake of capitalism, which is not a word that Laurie Garrett uses, but for the sake of profits, companies are willing to do anything, and human desires, whether they're drugs or meat or coffee, have no bounds. And so you put those two things together and you get all kind of crises, and then people benefiting from the crises. And so, it's just sickening to me that this Sackler family wants to be the one. Now they want to sell you anti-addiction drugs.
Well,
yes.
Well, didn't they call us? What did they call us? Black folks. They called us the profitable wonders.
Oh no, they found better.
Okay, so excuse me, Rick.
Rednecks.
So excuse me for a second.
They take opioids like candy.
Us the profitable wonders. And in this country, it's called white privilege. These are all white men sitting at the helms of these companies. And only in America can a white man do what he wants to do. Don't get to go to jail. All right, I give you.
You've
an
never
example.
been to the UK or France.
I give you a good example. That the today in the news, of course, a lot of hate crime has been committed against Asians lately, thanks to some folks making up and massaging the notion that it's the Chinese whatever, or the da. And I think that's where it comes from. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, what was I going to say? The sheriff that was talking about the incident where it happened. He was empathizing with the murderer. I'm listening to what he said. He said,
he had had enough. It was a bad day.
He's broke.
He murdered 8 people.
No. I mean, this shows you another example of white privilege.
Is it white privilege or is it male privilege? We were upset about sex, so no big deal, right?
Well, he literally said, Rick, that he was broke. He had a bad day, and this is the results of this white boy being broke.
It's because
he
was addicted to porn.
And having a bad day. Having a bad day. Okay? But again, if that was a black person.
Oh, he's dead.
And if you're not dead, they certainly would be standing there empathizing with you. Now, let's do something else. If that was white folks that he had killed, they still would not be standing there, because then it would go from white boy to poor. That's when the economics come in. They would not be standing there sympathizing with this boy. I was too thrown when he said that. So to make a long story short, again, you don't look to the oppressor to solve your problems, ever. It's not going to happen, ever. So that's why Purdue Pharma is able to do what they do. They're able to make deals with our legal system, because that's what that is. Making a deal to pay out less money. Not even jail time, because they're not worried about that. Just making a deal where they have to, because they're greedy, got the money, but to pay out less money.
Yeah, but
That's
the
it.
states,
And they don't
they're
even
greedy
want to
too.
pay it at once. They want to dole it out over a period of years.
And also they
Yes.
forget one thing, the tobacco industry gave 250 billion to get off all lawsuits for I don't know how many years.
Yes.
10 billion for something even, I mean, of course, lung cancer is one of the first cancers in America, it kills a lot of people, but you kill as many with your opioid stuff. And here's the thing with 10 billion, the states will not go through an agreement because each state right now through Medicaid and their own hospital systems are spending a ton of money on addiction programs that amount to way more for each state than $10 billion. They're not giving up because you're talking about greed. The states also are greedy for their budget.
And
It's all
of them
about budget and greed. You're right. But in the end, that's what will force the Sackler not to negotiate 10 billion, but about 300 billion, at least 300 billion. And I'm not even sure that DC, for example, or New York or Tennessee will accept it because the number of people who died in those states or this district of now it goes beyond that because I think they want blood now. I'm telling you, they want blood. The states, the district attorneys would turn down the offer. It's not nearly enough, and more than anything, I think they want them in jail.
Well, the
That's what
problem.
it should be.
Well, the problem is too, if you look at, I have known a couple of people in this suburban town. Children have died from opioids that I knew when they were little boys. They grew up with Clint, which is now 33. I think my son, yeah, he's 33. Grew up with him. That's died from opioids. I know a family in particular, and they're both of them are fabulous. Their son died, and I've been knowing him since he was a little boy. In order to try to get help for him, which they tried many times to get, even put into institutions. Then people, nobody's talking about this. They're talking about state Medicaid, what's going to cost the system. No, his father took and turned and liquidated his retirement account. They literally, and these are middle class people, worked hard, a nice little house, 2 boys, 2 sons. So liquidated his retirement account and everything that they literally had. And he owns a small company, not a wealthy company, a small, company.
His own business.
Right, his own little business. And this is what they did. And their son, unfortunately, had gotten better, was off for a while, quite a few months. And one day, as we spoke about, Rick and I think last week we were talking about, the week before, he decided, I guess, that he was just going to do a little something. And it always equates to an overdose.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. So it's not just the people that have died, it's the ones that are trying to stay alive that will still end up dying. And the families that are left bankrupt, trying to help their loved ones. And I say spend every dime they had, they would give their life. And they did. And he still ends up dead. So,
Wasn't El Chapo? Everybody says he should get, the death penalty, blah, blah, blah. Pablo Escobar was the enemy of the state, but this family, they used to have a thing at the Guggenheim Museum. And, the Guggenheim and everybody in New York all of a sudden, when it came out, started being very upset and they want to talk to them. First of all, if they're educated people and read the press, the whole opioid crisis has been going on for 15 years and we know who produces them.
Mm-hmm.
So explain to me why now that there's more and more outrage coming from more and more newspapers, you start pulling out. You love the money. And it's like the Trumps.
Yes.
You knew they were horrible people, but as long as they were acceptable in New York, you didn't mind having them in your orbit. And I'm just disgusted by beyond capitalism. I think a lot of people in America tolerate powerful people doing everything they want because lots of people have a lot of darkness in their heart and they would like to be able to have the same quote unquote freedom. Freedom to kill, freedom to abuse. So what? He bought it. Yeah, but it's poison.
Well,
yeah,
no,
I told him
they're drug dealers.
Cool.
No, they're cartel. Let's call it like they say. I'm so sick of people not using the right. I agree. I'm so sick of people not using the right words. Yeah, it's the same way with the so-called rioters, insurrectionists. They were domestic terrorists. They were white domestic terrorists. This is a cartel. It's a legal organized drug organization
Yep.
that hides under the shield of a corporation in the United States. That's what this is. And no one will, people keep massaging these words, and I'm over it. Call them what they are.
But that's
They are a
why,
cartel, a legalized pharmaceutical cartel.
but this is where Pablo Escobar
Why
was wrong.
don't you use the words that you want to use, Venita, and let the rest of us choose our own words? Would that be okay?
No, but I'm not saying. Well,
Cartel.
I'm not saying. No, I'm not. I'm saying that sarcastically.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
actually, people are choosing their own words, and it's a free country,
Hmm.
and people can call it whatever they want to call it. But again, if it was just you or me, and we had a group of people, and we wasn't under corporate umbrella,
Oh yeah, we're all in
we
jail.
would be called, and we were making big money. We'll be called a cartel.
Yep.
We would call it illegal cartel. That's all I'm saying. No, people know, people say what they want to say, and that's why they're able to get away and do what they do, because they massage people's mind, you know, to make it seem less than what it is. It's a legalized cartel.
To give you an example, you were talking about words. Like in France, we don't use the word depression or recession. We call it negative growth. It's brilliant because it's still the idea of growth. And I'm thinking, Pablo Escobar was an idiot. He should have submitted for FDA approval. That's his mistake, El Chapo, you submit to FDA. That's what they did. That's how you get a cartel out there. And no, yeah, I know it's a disgusting
It's
company and
sad. It's
disgusting
disgusting.
family.
Yeah, but we have a
There's a
lot of
special
families
place
like
in my
that.
heart.
What else was striking to you guys about this stuff? I did want to mention the medical experiment that she talks about here. The baboon with AIDS. They used a baboon to do an organ transplant to a human being. I think it was a liver. They transplanted from a baboon that they knew had AIDS to a human being. So the human being, surprise, didn't make it. And this is the type of shit, that gives folks vaccine hesitancy, because there just seems to be no ethical bottom.
There is, actually. There's worse.
Where is it, Rick?
That was actually justified by ethics, surprisingly, in the sense that the idea was, can we use animals which genome is 99 to 98% close to us to save human lives that are unfortunately not able to get a transplant on time because there's not enough donors, thank God, because otherwise that means there's a lot of dead people. So can we create them artificially? And so they started with this horrible experiment because it was before what you call health technology assessment groups were created in the world, which now tie access to the market, to the product, to completion of certain clinical trials with certain gold standards. But back then they didn't have that. So you see horrible things like that. They tried with pigs. And the problem is that because of that AIDS case, because everybody was like, don't do that with pigs or any other animal, because some viruses they have we'll get now. And so, yeah, but it's been abandoned, to be honest with you. Now they're thinking about cloning, which is not better. Technically, there's a risk that cells go crazy too. So, yeah, I don't know. The problem is that I think scientists are like companies. They also need limitations. Otherwise, you have the mad scientist archetype,
Right.
Everybody
Right.
needs a limitation. Everybody needs to be scrutinized by people who ignore what they're doing to force them to explain. In other words, we need people who are not doctors to ask questions to doctors. There are dumb questions, but the doctors, instead of saying you're dumb, which we hear a lot, say, okay, I have to do it again. So a vaccine is safe for this reason, you get angry. You're not good enough to be a doctor. Your art is who you are. You re-explain as many times as you need.
Mhm.
And we are in a world where people don't do that. They're like, you don't believe in vaccine? Hey, let the person ask the question. Don't berate that person. If you think the question's dumb, get out of the room. let a doctor who's willing to explain and be patient and accept he won't be believed necessarily to do his job,
Right.
Enough with all the
Right.
There should be courses. There should be courses in school in death, the same way they have courses in life. Sometimes you die. You just do. It's time to go. It's just time to leave this earth. When it gets to the point where we need animal livers and kidneys and heart, it's just time.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be funny, and I know it's all about making $1 for the scientists, but when it gets to that point, it's just time to die.
Right. Hold the baboon liver.
Yeah, that's why. If it was me, I'm telling you, and I need to put that in my, and I should put that in my living will. I think I might do that. No, because you gotta have a living will. If I get off that bad off, and if Rick and Michelle and a couple people I know can't give me a little piece of their liver, if their liver is functioning properly, if you have to resort to baboons and pigs and monkeys and rabbits, and squirrels and stuff, it's time for me to die. It's okay. It's okay. We need to really get lessons in death. It's a part of living.
I just thought of something horrible. At the hospital, if that ever happens, becomes generalized, imagine that liver's strange. Oh, you got the human liver. Oh, we mixed your food with your liver. I mean, where we'll be at the point like, wait, is this for a transplant for the cantina? I don't know anymore. Is it a baboon or is it a pig? I don't know. You got to be careful.
This chapter is like looking at, ways that species are dealing with plagues they've never had to deal with because of all of the ways that we're cross-contaminating each other. The way the water was, I think it was cholera, where the water moved from the Midwest in the center of the country down through the Gulf and back up through the East Coast, and how far the diseases are moving. Whales with herpes and seals with cholera and the measles and all kind of craziness. That's what I just said. We're messed up.
Yeah. And because we're moving the earth around. Again, you can't destroy the earth, but you can change it. And that's what people are not understanding. I don't know why, what kind of thickhead, they didn't teach it at Harvard. But yes, we can change it. We can't destroy it. So every time you dig up these big communities on the Connecticut shores, and we are known for our fisheries, from Connecticut up to Maine and Vermont, you have really screwed up the ecology. And our fisheries are 50% down over the years because of it. Between that and overfishing and what the humans are doing. So yes, I don't see any way out of this. So
the fish get some disease, and then we eat the raw fish, and now we got this new disease. I'm not eating anything else. I've already known, but there's nothing left to eat anymore. I told Michelle today, I don't eat anything anyways, but there's nothing left to eat anymore.
Not really.
I'm afraid to put anything in my mouth.
It's funny because she talked about everything in that book except one other form of contamination, a contaminant that is not a microbe, and that is the most devastating of all, radioactive isotopes.
Oh.
And surprisingly, 10 years ago, a huge earthquake destroyed, and the biggest tsunami in Japanese history, which to say a lot because I saw some when I was there. They're scary. Destroyed a nuclear plant, and the reactor, the fused reactor, always producing mega radioactivity, is in the oceans. Been sitting there for 10 years. Of course, they're working on it. But, when Chernobyl happened and everybody watched the show, and everyone was like, yeah, we know that a lot of people got sick in Europe and around the world because of that. We know. How come nobody is scared shitless of what is in the ocean? because
not
of what
afraid.
happened in Fukushima. 10 years of worse than Chernobyl in the ocean, the Pacific, which streams everywhere. I mean, the Atlantic, every ocean is contaminated, every coast, every
Yeah,
fish.
yeah,
But no, we're good. Nobody really is
Yeah,
like, there's nothing.
yeah.
It's so odd, right? Like, this
Because
is
it cuts
big.
into, and that's why you have to look at the profit motive along
that's
with
all it
all of
is.
it,
That's all it is.
you know.
I mean, you wouldn't even have
It's not
wars,
good
or
for business to
you wouldn't
talk
even
about
have
such things.
you wouldn't even have to build nuclear arms and things unless it wasn't about power and money.
Ow.
Everything that we go through that's horrible is about power and money. That's it. Who's the most powerful? How can I go over there and take over this? As Rick said, the Chinese never do anything for free. Let's write that down. You don't get anything from China for free. And if they say it's free, it's time to get on that plane, get your
Tibet.
purse, and leave. Because it's
It's
not
free.
free.
Really? Oh, nice.
The island Jamaica. Let the natives there tell you how free it was. They'll tell you how free it is. That's why they don't have any freedom. That's why they're poor as they are. That's why the Chinese own Jamaica.
Yep.
Because they accepted something and they are paying for the rest of their lives for generations with poverty. So Rick is 100% correct. They say they get
every country in the world. I mean, the only country that ever did something kind on their own, it's generally because it's like, oh, but you're brothers or stuff like that. It's never for everybody, you know. It's always another country that, oh, they're nice to us, but it's never like other people. It's always country, which is not a thing. A country does not exist. It's something in your mind. Between Germany and France, there is no Germany and France. It's like the Rhine River. It's not, people, and I don't know. It's but I saw something funny. You were talking about how insane people can be with nuclear arms. They discovered fauna from the age of dinosaurs they had never seen before, like pure, like there. It's dead, of course, but it's like you see them for real. These were found by the Americans when in the 60s they told everybody we're building a science lab in the North Pole to explore, the North Pole. Oh, cool. No, they were building underground a silo for 600 nuclear weapons to have them close to Russia. But they abandoned the project because it ended up being an insane amount of work. And they were like, what if one blows up? The whole Arctica blows up? Oh, like, it melts. Oh, yeah. Oh, we shouldn't do that. So thank God he didn't do it. But that shows you how insane, like 600 nuclear weapons under the North Pole, New Russia pretending they were studying them. Yeah, I mean, people are crazy. Who had this idea? The Pentagon, an idiot. Yeah, if one blows up,
that's exactly.
You got to be an idiot.
Yeah.
Let's put nuclear weapons where there's ice, and if it melts, New York doesn't exist anymore.
That's what I'm telling you. And the nosies, the archaeologists. The archaeologists, stop being nosy. You're going over there. You don't know what you're digging up. That's a good job. That's a good gig if you're nosy. Okay. Because you're going out.
I am an archaeologist.
You're going out there digging up fossils. You don't know what kind of diseases, because remember, because cold can like keep things just really like in this forever state. You don't even know what you're digging up. Being nosy all the time, the same way going to space. Stop being nosy. Mind your business. Take care of what's right here. You don't know what you're letting loose into our world just for sheer nosiness.
The other COVID, not COVID, viruses they identified that are very close to COVID were found. Two strains were found in the 2000s, 2010s in China in the south near mines. And what happened is that the miners were exploring for the first time these mines, and they stumbled upon bats, and there was excrements everywhere. They were inhaling it because, there's no air and it's in the air, and they got sick. So it was contained. But another story like that was you know the Tutankhamun curse? The pharaoh Tutankhamun, I don't know Tutankhamun in French, but
Mhm.
You know, the guy who created the myth, the cult of Aton instead of Ammon, and he was Sean. And so, you know, the story that the archaeologists, when they opened, there was like a
No,
curse,
I
they all
don't know the
died.
story. No.
So when they found it, it was the greatest find in Egyptology history, which was just a century old. So, but so they opened it, and we're like, wow, like 1,000 sculptures, the beautiful mummies. And there was a riddle, you know, the hieroglyphs, whoever enter here will die. Don't
Mhm.
bother me and my wife. They did.
Yep.
They brought them back to London. You know, and they made movies about that. They all died of fever, like they died of. And one recent theory is that, wait, there might have been a pathological, a pathogen inside the tomb.
Of
Was it
course.
intentional? Like, did they let something rot they knew was like the plague or something very dangerous? They knew could
Mhm.
survive in corpses for centuries.
Yeah.
What did they, or was it because it was closed for centuries and something just, and they
Right.
never knew what it was. But people are scared after that. Like nobody was approaching the mommy for years.
That's right. It shouldn't. You should mind your business. You don't need to know
It
all that.
wasn't, and it wasn't theirs. It was Egypt's. Um, you know,
Yeah, and mind your business. Don't destroy the final resting place
Thank
of,
you.
of people. It seems so basic,
That's
but
why they tombs to keep you out. That's why it's called a tomb. The reason why they said tomb is because they want to make sure they were sealed off from the nosies
well,
that would come along. No, really, that's why they had tombs. Because
I believe.
they cherished their dead, they respected their dead, and they wrapped them up and did all they whatever they did, and they sealed it. They didn't want you in there.
But you know, at the Louvre, what's shocking at the Louvre is that you're walking around and you see a glass, a mid level. It's a mummy being exposed to everybody, and you're like, interesting. It's like a freakish show. And you know, in Paris, for years they've asked us to give them back what do we call the obelix. It's in the middle of the Concorde place. You know, there you probably saw that. It's like a Washington Monument in Paris.
Okay.
It's not French. We stole it during Napoleonic Wars to Egypt. We said, hey, it would be nice in Paris. We stole it. We took it from Gizeh, literally, and brought it back and put it in the middle of a city that's just 1,000 years old. We did that. And now people are like, you should bring it back. And we're like, nah. And you know what we say? It's like, we translated it, nothing important. Seriously, the nerve. So yeah, you know, colonization is like that. I'm the one who tells everybody we need to send back everything we stole to the countries. And people say, yeah, but if we do so, some might be destroyed because there are wars and stuff. I'm like, so it's their stuff.
Thank
We
you.
destroyed how many cathedrals, how many temples? I mean, we burnt down Rome.
Mhm.
So if they fuck up their own stuff,
That's their
who are
stuff.
we to tell them, hey, it's hard?
Again, mind your business. Give them back their
Not,
stuff and let them do what they do want to do with their stuff.
look, Chirac, he
yeah,
created that big museum for primitive arts, they call that. And now the problem is that all these arts are from nations that are claiming them back. You know, in Africa and South America, like, hey, that mask is sacred and belongs to our village, and we've been looking for it. And we're like,
mhm.
no, 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 it's too precious. It's not yours.
Yeah, and these are the kind of things that it seems like we should be learning how to live with each other. It's not very neighborly when you steal from your neighbor. We should that's where my question about, if we make it to outer space and encounter other beings, what have we learned on Earth that can help us interact with new beings? Because if we just carry these behaviors to the next stratosphere,
We
Don't
shouldn't be in
send
the
our
next
white man.
stratosphere. We shouldn't be there. That's what I'm saying. We have, that old saying, sweep on your own backyard before you try to clean up somebody else's. or visit somebody else's, or, well, I believe that we have so much work of our own and we have so many issues of our own that we don't need to be going into space doing anything. What we need to be doing is concentrating.
I agree, but yet,
Much.
human beings have been going into space for decades now.
Yes.
And, learning more and more. And so it's a matter of time before they really encounter life forms. And I told you they're getting ready, there's a company that is building hotel stays.
And who is that for? And who is that for? And
whoever can pay $5 million.
And who can pay $5 million?
It's not that expensive when you own billions. Okay.
I mean, it's like we got people here that can't pay $5 and the bread costs that much, and we're going up there on vacation.
Just regardless of the ethics of it, it's happening, and that's that is, I think, another kind of theme of this chapter.
Yes.
That where there's a dime to be made, where there's profit to be made, where there's a demand for a particular product or service, somebody's going to come along to fill that demand and make that money, regardless of the ethical consequences. You get hooked on opioids. That's not our problem.
No.
There's a movie you got to watch about that called Arrival. I don't know if you ever watched it.
Mm-mm.
The story is that all of a sudden, several countries in the world, huge, it's like Independence Day, huge spaceships come up, and nobody understands them, and they can understand humans. So the army goes fetching that translator, like super big linguist, like she knows, I don't know, 30 languages, ancient, novel, dialects, like she studies language for a living, and she's at like a university. So the Pentagon goes and fetch her and say, we need you. We guess you're the better expert in translating complex ancient languages lost, so maybe we're giving a try. Could you try to find a way to communicate with them? And so the whole movie is how to communicate with an animal like us, but with consciousness, but has a definition of time and space, and a way to communicate that is not telepathy, that goes with what they do is that they draw with their tentacles, like octopuses, they draw very complex designs and they disappear. So she tries to map everything out, and in the middle of that, you got people saying, you have all the politics, like, it's been 6 months. What do they want? Do they want to destroy us? They could destroy us. And the Chinese are like, if they don't respond by this hour, you give them that message, we'll have to attack them. And the Americans are like, oh, we won't let you attack first. We'll attack first. And the whole movie is about this poor lady trying to convince people that she thinks they want to tell us something. And the whole twist is, what is it? And it's kind of beautiful. Very emotional at the end.
I'll look for that. I'll look for that. Okay. Anything else strike you about this chapter? Other than the fact that it was too long?
No, actually, it was an interesting chapter, and I really have some pages left to read. I scanned over it, but I want to finish reading it because the last one a couple of them wore me out. I think it was one. This one was actually interesting. It was all over the place. A lot of stuff was in there, but it was an interesting chapter. It really was. Yeah. So no, it didn't wear me out. The age chapter book within the book is the chapters that wore me out. They were good, but there's a lot of it. This was good. It was a very good chapter, I thought.
There's one.
And that book you received, Michelle, I don't think I sent that to you.
My name is on the
because I was supposed to send this one.
Oh, carte blanche.
No.
White map.
I just dropped all these papers on my floor.
Oh, you got it. Good.
No, he sent that. That's what I'm saying. This one's supposed to come to you. That's what I thought you were getting.
Rick sent this to me?
Right.
Yeah.
That's why when you said that, I'm like, I looked at my things.
No, I
blocked
sent
out
you.
the books.
I sent you that the other day. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And she
Okay.
thought I
I'm
had
sorry. I
sent
thought
it.
you understood it was coming from the Amazon account.
No, because
It says you, right?
what? Your name is not on here. It just says Amazon.
Oh, okay. So I thought they would put my
Right.
name on it. Okay, I thought I had it right.
Yeah. And
I
see what
assumed
happened.
it was Venita because Venita and I had talked about that book.
And I was sending you this one. And that's why I'm looking over. I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, they didn't send that. Like I wanted them to send that, one for me and one for you. Then I was
So you
looking for that
started.
book.
Okay.
I said, I don't think I sent Michelle that book. I buy other books all the time.
Okay, I
kept
don't
looking.
have carte blanche. I didn't get. Thank you guys. Thank you both of you.
I thought I was losing my mind, Michelle. I'm like, well, wait a minute now. Because I buy a lot of books. Did I send that? Or where's this one?
No,
Oh, by
I'm
the
glad
way,
you mentioned it.
good news from the front of COVID. If you have friends, family, anybody with who's a long haulers who got the vaccine, their symptoms disappeared within 48 hours. We don't understand. It's not logical. It should.
Are you getting the vaccine, Rick? Are you getting the vaccine?
I'm getting it when I can. My whole family got it. So my sister got the J&J. She's super allergic. Like she has like allergies. Every 2 years she discovers a new one. So she's got her EpiPen always. Like the last one was calamari.
Mm-hmm.
She hadn't eaten calamaris for 40 years. But that day they decided to try to kill her. So I didn't believe her. But one day she said, I'm allergic to detergent. I'm like, stop that. So we went inside a laundromat to get some stuff. It was very hot, and the detergent smell was in the air. When we came out, she had doubled in volume just by inhaling the air. So she got the J&J. She was observed for 1 hour at Javits Center. She didn't even have a skin rash, the J&J.
Wow.
She's super happy. She got it. She has asthma. That's why she was eligible before everybody else. But she was like, last time she got a vaccine was, I don't know, they gave her what? For something she hadn't done in years. Like a normal vaccine, like something we all get when we're children and stuff. She had a huge rash, headache, like a lot of side effects.
Right.
Okay, but not this one. So I'm like, whoa, this seems nice, the J&J.
Do you have any thoughts about them pausing the AstraZeneca in Europe?
Yeah, it's complicated. It's just that, side effects from vaccines, we expect them to be 0.0001% of vaccinated people, and we have 0.6% of reports. It's a problem. Maybe the vaccine should not go into people who are at risk of blood clot, which means only younger people should get AstraZeneca, I think. That would be the best option. For the time, because it's safe, but it's not, we're observing these blood clots in people over 65. So let's stop that. But we need to interrupt it. They're going to start again with vaccination. Pfizer will go over in Europe, people over 65, and AstraZeneca, probably people under 65. But still, the problem is, saying they're all equal is not acceptable. It's not true. Just not true. Saying they're all good. Stop saying that.
Yeah, they keep saying that.
Stop saying that. It's not
it's
true.
like, get what you can. They're all equal. They're all good. Get whatever you can. Whichever one you get is good. That's not an answer.
It's not true about anything.
No.
Cancer drugs, they're not all equally good for you or for somebody else. Maybe they need another one.
Right.
You can't just say,
But that's what kind of scares me about all of this stuff, that I feel like I'm not just in mass media, not hearing real answers. As you were saying earlier, Rick, just put the doctor out there to answer people's questions, whether they're stupid questions or not. And but stop giving these stupid answers.
Nothing to
That
say.
just
Everything's
leaves,
good. Okay.
that just leaves people with more questions. It's like, if you're giving me a stupid answer, then now I have to wonder what you're hiding.
Right.
So I don't know. So there's just kind of a, like, I don't hear answers. Okay, the vaccines are safe. I don't hear, go to the New England Journal, February 1st issue, and see XYZ study. It's none of that kind of, it's just these, it's say, do it. It's this rah propaganda kind of push.
Well, all vaccines were. I don't remember any vaccines, even ones, when we were younger, ones for the children, that it wasn't just propaganda. There was never enough information. There was never go to somewhere and here's the information that you need. I always remember all vaccines being propaganda. You know what I'm saying? I just think they're following the same, they're doing the same thing they've always done. At least that's what I observed. I've never seen it in my lifetime. Whether it's for the children, whether it's for you, it's never been that way. So to expect that now.
And they have the stupid quote, there is no evidence of that. No evidence doesn't mean it's not true.
Thank you.
As well as no evidence, as evidence doesn't mean it's true necessarily, because the thing with evidence is that we all know that in clinical trials, payers, insurers, they always complain that they can't compare these drugs to one another for the same disease because the endpoint has the same name, but the scientific definition within a clinical trial is always slightly different from one another. So you can't do direct comparisons. It's done on purpose. Because if you do direct comparison, then you have one that's better than anybody else. So why would you cover the others? So that's why, pharmaceutical companies do everything they can to make sure that head-to-head comparisons never happen. And how do they do that? First of all, they protect each other by admitting implicitly that they won't be sharing the same endpoint.
Right.
And so they can have a part of the market. And second of all, they'll simply do something that's, they will not authorize independent assessors to get these drugs and compare them in clinical trials because they own these drugs. So they own the property, the product, the patent. So they can deny you the right to study it if you're not sponsored by them. And the sponsor, of course, there's independence. The problem is that the sponsor tells the clinic, tells the hospital what they need to study. The hospital studies, and if somebody gets sick, they stop right away. They report it. But what they report is what was like a calculator, the equation that we're given. And if this physician believes the equation is not perfect, he needs to prove it. How's he going to prove it? Can he recruit 1,000 patients on his own? You see how it works. And again, capitalism, because we gave up the whole research thing as a national and public necessity and said, private sector, do it. Well, now we're stuck with them.
Well, Rick, you had given me some bright light to think about the youth and how they're going to tackle all the challenges, and I was feeling kind of good. And now you've taken me down again. Thanks a lot, buddy.
No, they're fun stories. Come on, I mean, they've been incredible kids out there. But what I don't like about America is that the people in power are disgusting, mess everything up, and the most vulnerable come together, form communities, and help each other and do incredible stuff. So, look at the news. At the beginning, it's Trump doing that, or Biden, or whatever, and whoever's done something, or Cuomo. And then 5 minutes feel-good moment about this guy who has no money but still giving to people. And you're like, you know what? I'm sick and tired. I want people to stop being generous. I want blood. I'm sick and tired of people who are good people doing the dirty job that the government is not doing because the government's messing, and not just government, all these guys messing things up. Why are we doing, you know what? Let it collapse. Let's stop help each other for once and let the government deal with. Remember how they were scared when we were at home at the beginning and we discovered, wait, the best way to destroy the system is to stay at home?
Right.
But people forgot about this idea. People were just leaning idea like, wait. No need for violence or going out and getting beaten up by cops. Just stay home. Everybody stays home. Nobody drives. Government freaks out. But no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We're willful, submissive, because look at all the people. Hey, we need to open spas, bars, gyms. What? Why? They're not important.
No.
Yeah.
How's that important?
And the places that were never allowed to close down because they were deemed essential. Like I'm thinking about the meat packing plants, which, you know, we like to eat meat, but really, would it kill us to not eat meat for a few months?
I know.
The most recent John Oliver focused on not the Tucker Carlson one, another one. It's not the most recent. He's focused on meat packing plants, the conditions for workers inside these plants. And he shows a video of a chicken plant, a Tyson plant, where the workers are standing shoulder to shoulder trying to chop up these chicken legs. And a man takes off his gloves, pulls out his penis, pees beneath the table where they've got all these chickens spread out, puts his gloves back on, and continues to chop the chicken because they're not giving the workers time to go to the bathroom.
Good chicken. Excellent chicken.
So finger looking good.
Marinated.
That's why I tell you, I just don't eat food. I just think I'll just probably, if I can't live off of air and not even water.
How do they call those? It's actually called the air eating. They call that. They allegedly live solely on air, taking nutrients from air, and of course, the guys that were gurus in that sect later on, people said no, but we saw them eat a bagel.
Yeah.
So, how's the
air is so polluted? That's not going to help you.
Well, that's true, but again, that comes from greed. You know, it's not one car in a family. Years ago, you know, if you had a car, a lot of times, except those people thought they had it like that, they weren't just as bad. You had one car in the family. It was one car, okay? If you was a teenager, you drove that one car in that family if your parents had nothing else in the world to do. Nothing. You took those kids in one car and dropped them all off where they had to go. You know, it's just like one bathroom. Now you need these mega little cheap, architecturally uninteresting boxes that people want to live in that have 7 bathrooms, 12 bedrooms, where people raise their families when a little 1,100 square foot ranch, 8 kids, 1 bathroom. It also taught discipline.
And 2,000
guns. You have 5 minutes to be in that bathroom. What is your time? You better make sure you up on time because your mother didn't want to hear no late because you still got to be in that car, piled up on that bus stop at the time when it comes. If you missed it, you walked. That's it. And you got stolen on the way, that's your business. If you'd been on time, you wouldn't have got stolen.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
But I'm just saying that, you know, everyone contributes. People contribute to all our pollution. I sit here and I see people, 2 teenagers, each one got a car. The husband and wife got their own car. Then they have their sports car or their fun car. So it's 5 cars to one family.
They're very poor. I know some people that literally in South Carolina have a house. Okay, it's a gated community, and when I arrived one day, I was like, first time I was going there, they have a huge lane between houses, all green. I'm like, oh, that's big. And I see lights all over, you know, like surrounding this huge lane on the sides. I go in and I see a fucking airplane. And the guy says, "Oh no, we're a gated community where we have our own little airport for our little own airplanes.
Got the
They
hanger.
land in front of their house."
They got, yes, they do. They got
You're like,
hangers.
do we need that? Just asking a question. Is that like super essential that you, if you want to fly, good for you. Go
That
to
is
the
essential.
airport where your plane is. Do you really need to buy to destroy a whole forest to create an airport for 10 houses?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
I get you like having a sports car, but an airplane is a pain in the ass.
I know a person that moved to one of those communities, actually. I do know someone that moved to one of those communities, must have been about 15, probably about 15, 20 years ago. That actually moved to one of those communities where you have a hangar and they have their plane. I'm not lying to you.
I believe you. I saw it. Like that.
And guess who they were? They was a retired minister, young, of a church, and his wife.
Oh, yes, because the nation's God needs them for the poor. Well, you know, one thing about by the way, the Vatican offering $100 million for what they did for slavery, you know. It's like Purdue to me. $100 million for reparations
What you gonna do with that?
over
Nothing.
slavery? Like
You
over
can't-
slavery, not over like 30 people died in that stadium accident during a fire, and it's some people were like the team owner was responsible. No, we're talking about countless nations destroyed, wiped out, brought back to what the hell?
Well,
100 million.
pox on their house, just like the Egyptians said, "Stay out of my tomb." They're gonna get theirs, because then when the Pope came out and said they were not going to be sanctioning gay marriage,
I'm not surprised.
that's not,
It's
not a good
Catholicism.
look, Pope.
I mean, it's like here's the thing. I know it sounds very insensitive, but if you're gay, how can you be a Catholic? You can be a Christian, but a Catholic? I mean, it's very clear what the founding fathers said about that. Augustinus, it's Catholicism. It's not Christianism. It's like women bad, men liking men. Ugh, ew. Pleasure bad. Kill yourself. No, don't kill yourself. Hurt yourself. Not too much. Vanity. It's Catholicism, in my opinion, is insanity made a religion, because when they tell you do this, you do it. They say that's sin. That's vanity. Why? But you told me to do it. That's pride. Wait, you respond. Okay, you're not responding. You lack courage.
Again, the expectations that you have on oppressors, how could you have any expectations? I still don't understand that. And they're still oppressing to the day. So, to me, it doesn't compute. How can it be any expectations?
Remember what Catholics used to do about Black people? Oh, it's unacceptable what you're doing with them. Instead of working in fields, they should be working for us, so you could convert them. It's Catholics. And very few people know about the Biodiversity dispute, when they proved that Native Americans had a soul. And so the merchants were like, so we need slaves for the Americas, who we're going to get. And the Vatican said, well, you know what? Africans are not humans. Go there. They literally said that. They're human, but not like normal humans, like subhumans. They literally said that. It's the church's history, the Biodiversity dispute, that decided that slavery would come from Africa and no longer from the Americas. But no, $100 million. Hey, here you go. The whole Vatican is worth, I don't know, 1 trillion in art alone. Like, sell shit.
Well, if you can see all the Catholicism on islands, that tells you right there. All Catholics on all these islands and all their parishes. You don't have to even read about that. Just put 2 and 2 together.
Come on, what was it that the Catholics did that I always find fascinating? it's really, I mean, it's not just money, is that technically they're not, I mean, they read a book that tells you need to be poor, and that if you really love Jesus and you're the first apostle, you go on the road and you accept, to be among the poor and to accept that they will reject you. But Catholics, no, they like gold, and all the gold in the Vatican. There's a lot of gold coming from Rome, from barbarians, from these wars, but a lot of it appeared around the 16th century. Lots of gold all of a sudden at the Vatican, 16th, 17th, 18th centuries. It's called the colonies. Where do you think all the gold comes from the Vatican? The Americas. Where do you think they stole it? Oh, Teotihuacan. Hello, Aztecas. That's nice. What is this? No, I take it. Mine. So Catholics can go screw themselves, and I'm a Catholic. I've been a choir boy for a decade. No, screw the Vatican.
Most religions
Yeah.
have a really dark history. Anyway, you all, as always, it's been a pleasure. And I will see you next week reading our story together next Thursday, the final chapter. And we get to close the book. You're muted, Venita. You're muted, Venita.
When you said that, I'm like, oh yes, it's been so long. I mean, we're almost at the end. I didn't realize it.
Yes.
So the test will be on April 15th.
Don't even go there, Rick. Don't go there. The test will be April 15th. Rick, stop.
Remember to read chapter 1 again. I will be asking questions about the chapter. Thank God I didn't become a teacher. Poor kids.
I tell you, I would not want to take her class.
That's what I'm saying. You take Mr. Rick class? Nope. I'd rather get.
Come on,
Give me an art class.
Come on, where are you going to math? I would have been what could have been? I don't know what teacher I would have been. I think I would have been horrible in the sense I would have been like, yeah, take your phones, just do shit. I have a hangover. I would have been fired in 2 months. I'll take care of everybody.
Okay.
Would have been a good teacher. See you all later.
Okay. Good night, Rick. Good night, Michelle.
Take care, Michelle. Bye-bye.
Good night.
You as well.